All right, so you got a new single playing on Spirit
Yeah.
FM now, Build a Boat.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
actually, like, I'm saying this honestly, one of my new favorite songs. I love
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
And so how did that song come about?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for playing it. Like, wow, thank you for playing it. It's blowing my mind. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know I was inspired by Noah and his story. But what I love about this story is I went back and read it in the Bible, and it's so different than how Hollywood portrays the story, right? Hollywood would say that Noah or Evan Almighty, if you will, like there's this big struggle between them and God.
Right.
And like Noah just doesn't really want to do it and is kind of giving God the what for. And, but the Bible says that God asked Noah to build an ark and Noah was obedient. That's it. And I was like, wow, that challenged the heck out of me. I'm like, man, I want to be known as somebody that when God asks me to do something big, that my response is yes. Because I think that there's a reward waiting on the other side of crazy faith, right? Like, I don't think he's just asking you to do it just because he feels like it. I think he's trying to get something to you, right? He knows the best case scenario for your life, right? So he's like cheering you on. He's like, come on, like, I know it looks crazy, but just trust me. So it's in those seasons, maybe it's even a dry season, right? Noah and his family were in the middle of a drought, right? And God asked him to build a boat. It's like, well, why do we need a boat in the middle of the desert, right? Trust me, you need a boat. If you want to live, you need a boat. Of course, Noah doesn't know that. But I know for me in my own life, like, yeah, it's like when God asked me to step out in faith, like I want my response to be, all right, let's do it. Because I know that whatever's going on behind the scenes, I'm going to be better for it if I do what you ask. So that's kind of the whole thing behind Build a Boat. I love that you love it.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's great.
Thank you.
So you got married back in 2016. I got married in 2016. You in January, me in December. Yeah. So we've only been married a few years, but what's something that God's kind of taught you about marriage since then?
Oh man. I don't know if you have this. I have people ask me, especially earlier on, they're like, man, what marriage advice do you have? I'm like, I'm not there yet. I'm the one, right? I'm the one who needs the advice. But man, for my wife and I, every relationship's different, but for my wife and I, like communication has just been so key. And even like the different forms of communication. We dated, our entire dating relationship was long distance. So we depended on communication. My wife is also extremely patient and extremely gracious. But there came a certain point where my wife had to sit down this millennial and go, okay, texting's not going to cut it, or whatever that is. And now, especially with kids, like that like FaceTime or whatever that is, that's like my lifeline to them when I'm out on the road. So communication is so important. And even just making sure you're on the same page about things. I've learned it's better to like over communicate or over like drag out something like, okay, I'm just making sure we're clear. Like, how are we going to handle this if this person is going to continue being this way, or if opportunity presented itself, how are we going to handle this? And knowing that we are a team and we're, same unit,
right?
Like, it just makes it so much easier to execute when that problem or maybe even that good thing arises. It's like, all right, cool. Like, got it. So communication has been the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, that's huge for us too. I mean, every marriage, because I think in marriage, sometimes you kind of assume you're on the same page about stuff.
You do assume,
but you don't know, right?
Yes.
And that can 100%. Get you into trouble, right?
Oh, yes, sir. That's exactly right. Yeah. Assumption, man, I think it can be one of the downfalls of a marriage, actually. Assuming. It's always better to communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So music is a powerful thing. We love it, obviously. What's your favorite compliment that you've ever gotten about your music?
Oh, man.
It's okay. Take some time to think.
this isn't my real one, but it definitely brightened my day. I played, I was just at a writer's round with Austin French and Hope Darst, and Hope had a guitar player there with her. And I played a piano version of my song Miracles, which has this piano arpeggio thing in it. And afterwards, Austin, I think it was Austin, he leans in his mic and he goes, "Man, it's like the Christian version of Clocks by Coldplay." And I was like, yes,
I'll take it.
That was awesome. Thank you. But man, honestly, my favorite, off the top of my head, I can't, I'm not picturing one person, but having someone come up to you at the end of a show, or maybe even just on the street, and them saying that a song or body of work that I've done has played a role in them finding God again, or maybe even like played a role in saving their life. Like they were right off of Idol. I had a lot of fans, a lot of young girls who dealt with depression and cutting and suicide, like really dark things, especially for how young they were. And for whatever reason, a lot of those people gravitated toward my music. And to be a part of that, there's no better compliment, there's no better feeling in the world than knowing that I played a small part in what God was doing directly in their life, right? That's so wild to know that God uses broken people like me. And all we have to do is just be willing. It's like, I love music, absolutely love music. And I probably would still love music even if it wasn't tied into faith. But the fact that I get to use my faith in my platform and tell people like, hey, here's how God has come through for me, X, Y, and Z. Like, here's some things I've learned along the way. I hope they help you. Knowing that that is working and people are giving you confirmation of that. Like, we don't, as believers, we don't always get to hear that on this side of heaven, right? I think when we get to heaven, like, people are going to come up to us and be like, man, you have no idea, like, when you ordered the coffee at Starbucks that one time and you were just so nice, and I just haven't been getting that, or whatever. That's why I think it's so important, like with every situation that you're in, to give life instead of take life. And so that's what I try to do in my music, and it's always just the best thing in the world when people give me confirmation of it.
What's something about life or your career that you had to learn the hard way?
Being a servant. In my line of work, it can sometimes feel like the opposite, right? There's this weird celebrity thing that comes along with being a musician, and there's, like, when we show up to a venue to play a show, the venue will most times go above and beyond to make sure that we feel taken care of and that we have everything we need and have a home cooked meal. Thank you, Jesus, for home cooked meals. And, but that can follow us on stage. So we can think that everyone in the audience is there to serve us as well. And it's so backwards. I'm actually there to serve them. Like, God has given me these songs, He's given me these stories, this testimony, to deposit something into them and to set the stage for what He's doing in that city. So for the first few years of my career, I had it so wrong, and I would believe the hype, good and bad, and I was so tossed by whatever the atmosphere dictated, how I lived. And then I realized, oh man, I actually get to dictate my atmosphere. Like, God's given me that authority, and knowing who I am, and who I am in the Lord, and knowing that, man, like, He set me here for a purpose that's so far above my own name. Like, yeah, it's a business, and you have to use your business hat sometimes, but there's a bigger picture here too. And that was something that maybe wasn't necessarily like the hardest thing to learn, but I just realized how backwards I had it, and how big of a shift it was. And now, like, when we go play shows, the outcome of the show, good or bad, isn't dictated by how the audience responds. Like, not my favorite shows in the world, but if you want to show up and set your lawn chair up 30 feet from the stage and enjoy the concert that way, it's like, that's cool. We're still going to have a good time. You would have a better time if you got out of your lawn chair and came toward the stage. But, that's is what it is. But but our mood's not dictated by that anymore, because I know I'm still there to serve them. So I still want to meet them where they are and give them something to chew on, or to
Mhm.
make them feel better about the climate that we're in, because God's still on the throne, or whatever that looks like. So that was a big one for me to learn.
Oh, live and local. Live and
Live and
local.
local.
Yeah, it's a new show streaming on PureFlix now. Weekly episodes are released every week, weekly. And so tell us about the show.
And what a great idea for a show. I love getting to see behind the scenes of Christian radio, much like what we're doing right now, and getting to be in the studio. And it's very interesting. But if you don't know what the show is, picture The Office, but Christian radio. So I haven't seen it yet personally, but I'm really excited to watch it. I know there are at least a couple episodes available, so I'm excited to check it out. Um, Full disclosure is, I had no idea that I was a part of a TV show until 2 weeks after I did the interview. I logged in to do the interview, and I thought it was a little strange that Dave Coulier, I'm not sure how to say his last name, Coulier, Uncle Joey from Full House, was
Right,
doing
right.
the interview. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Like, never thought I'd get to meet you or get to talk with you. It's really cool. But we did an interview. He's really nice, but I was just myself, talking about music and my family and, touring and all that stuff. And they said, man, thank you so much. That was a great interview. And we laughed about a couple things we talked about, and that was it. It's like, wow, really great interview. But then I started putting the pieces together. I'm like, just something's weird about this. My manager asked me how it went. I'm like, you never ask me how radio interviews go. Like, what is this? She's like, well, yeah, it'll be up on PureFlix in a few months. And I go, what do you mean? Like, it was just a radio interview. It's like, no, they like taped it and it's gonna be part of the TV show. And I'm like, oh, it made so much more sense. So I'm gonna have to go back and watch the interview that I did. If you think I'm a great actor, it's because I wasn't acting. um, they're great actors because I totally bought into everything. But yeah, it was such a fun experience. I'm really excited to watch it. I've heard it's hilarious. So if you haven't seen it, you need to check it out. But yeah, check out Live and Local for sure.
Excellent. That's crazy that you didn't know. They didn't tell
I
you.
know. Well, I think they did tell me, just didn't really register. Just had a blonde moment. It happens sometimes.
Let's see. Live and local. Oh, we've got a fundraiser coming up next month when we ask
Amazing.
people to, support the ministry.
Yeah.
Why, in your opinion, is Christian radio so important? Like, just
Oh,
in
yeah.
general and from your perspective as an artist.
Yeah. I can definitely speak into this because I grew up listening to Christian music and Christian radio. Um, it's so important to keep Christian radio on air, because you never know what someone's going through, and you never know how God works, or what He uses. And as an artist, I know firsthand that He uses music. Um, again, growing up listening to Christian radio, there'd be so many times where I'd be having a difficult week, or I'd be brokenhearted, or whatever it was, and I'd turn on Christian radio, and my atmosphere would change, because I know that God was in that music, and what you put in is what's going to come out. And I know that's so churchy, but it's just true, right?
Hmm.
um so, man, like, obviously, like, whatever that looks like for you, I would ask that you would pray about that. Like, a specific number, like, that you could give to Spirit FM, or whatever that looks like. Pray how you can help. But I do think it's so important, um, to keep Christian radio on the air, because, like I said, you never know what someone's going through or when they're going to need to hear a certain song at a specific time, and Christian radio provides that opportunity.
Excellent.